Hi, friends. I am a storytelling photographer, educator, speaker, and now an author based in Canmore, Alberta. I Was There Too is a series of conversations I'm having with other photographers and medical families. Today, I'm chatting with Kelly Marleau of Fiddle Photography in Edmonton. Photography has always been a major part of my own personal and mental health healing journey. I originally met Kelly through a group called Clickin Moms, and since then I've done some mentoring with her, and a few years ago she came and photographed our family as well. So we're going to talk about, I don't know, all things photography. So Kelly, will you please tell us a bit about yourself and about your business?
For sure. So yes, my name is Kelly Marleau. I am based out of Edmonton. I started with photography 9 years ago when my oldest daughter was just a little baby. And I'm not one of those photographers who picked a camera up in high school and stuck with it. I literally fell into it. I was actually writing a home decor blog and I needed better pictures of my rooms that I was doing. And so I bought a camera and then the rest is history. It all went to families and kids after that. I stopped vlogging.
I didn't know that part.
No,
Okay.
I actually was like refinishing furniture. And so I was posting all the furniture on Kijiji and I was like, nice, I need my stuff to sell. It needs to look good. So I went to Walmart, bought the cheapest DSLR I could find. And then my oldest daughter was like 3 months at the time. And I just like turned to her and that's it. I never like furniture went by the wayside. I became obsessed.
Okay.
So I learned everything I could learn about photography. It was a rabbit hole I've gone down and never come back up. And I then formed my business, Fiddle Photography. This is my seventh year officially. I've been doing families before that, but This fall marked my 7th year, and I work with primarily families and newborns. I do in-home lifestyle photography, and now this has turned into my full-time gig.
Yes.
Yeah.
Will you also tell them a little bit about Unscripted?
Yes. Well, it's changed a little bit. So yes. So I do mentor other photographers. I do it on my own, one-on-one. And I also work with a partner. Her name is Jenny Rusby, and she's based out of Melbourne, Australia. And we actually met on Clickin Moms right when I first bought my very first DSLR. Our kids were both babies. And so it's been almost 10 years that we've been friends now. And we decided that we have very similar philosophies. We work in, like, we've created similar businesses in terms of models and the types of sessions we do. So we decided to mentor together. Yeah. And we really like it because we think it's like the best of both worlds. You're getting two people on two completely different sides of the earth. We're in different seasons all the time. But we think about things a lot of the same way. And so we had started Unscripted, where we were teaching up and coming photographers how to take better pictures, mostly in their homes, but sometimes outside as well. And so with the pandemic, everything changed. She has 3 kids and I have 2, and we had them all at home, and it was like, okay, we can't keep up with this anymore. So we decided for the time being to close down Unscripted, but we are still active on our Instagram, giving tips, doing newsletters, and we are going to be teaching again in the new year. We're doing a breakout with Clickin Moms. So that is
nice.
Yeah. So that's our big, exciting thing we're working on right now. So that'll be really exciting to launch that.
Yeah. And I'm just going to talk about Clickin Moms for a second, because it sounds like really cheesy when you talk about
it does sound really cheesy.
Moms, but it is one of the, after I did a few courses with the Canadian Photography Learning Center in Edmonton, I think Clickin Moms was my next thing. So for me, I needed to learn how to use my manual camera with people in the room who could be like, this button right here. And like, that's how I learned. And I'm also a person that did not learn from high school. Like, I think I took a class in high school, but it wasn't something I always did. It was around the time, like it was just before Kane came around, my 7-year-old, almost 8-year-old kid, that I started doing classes. But Clickin Moms was a really good spot once I had Kane and I was at home with a little baby. They had classes online. They had like groups. Like, that's where I started doing a Project 52. And when I learned about a Project 52, and I was part of that group for like a couple years. And
that's how I met Jenny, is we got in a 365 group together. And a 365 is when you do one photo every day for the whole year. So that's how we met.
A Project 52 is one project a week for a whole year. And those are intense projects. I've never done a 365. But my photography was always kind of a side gig, and it paid for me to go to one conference a year. So the first conference I ever went to was Clickin Moms in San Antonio. And
Right.
actually, I just submitted an article to Click magazine
Did you?
about photographing palliative families. So we'll see if they pick it up. I haven't really been involved with them that much lately, but I'm
Yeah.
excited to hear about your breakout. Is it
Yeah.
up on their website already?
It's not,
Okay.
no. Details are still, we're not allowed to talk about a lot yet, but it is going to be in the new year, early in the new year. And it is going to be all about in-home lifestyle photography. So mostly focused a lot on business, about going into clients' homes, doing this. We're going to talk about all the different types of sessions you can do, how to shoot them, how to prepare your clients, what happens in tricky scenarios, how to make the most of your time, all that kind of stuff. Culling, we're going to do culling. There's going to be shooting videos of us shooting, all kinds. It's going to be good.
Oh, that's exciting. Okay.
Yeah, that's our winter. That's my winter project, her summer project.
And then you have actually photographed our family. So it was a couple of years ago now.
Yeah, two, I think.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I've always thought about is having, like, I want to be in the frame. That's important to me. It's important to my business model. So I will hire photographers once every 2 years to come and actually photograph us. So you were the first documentary or storytelling photographer that I had invited. We'd done like a lifestyle, and the way we set up our session was to do it a bit more like come and spend time with us and just photograph what's happening.
Right.
It was amazing. I definitely had to talk my husband into it.
Yeah. But what did he say after it?
He loved it. And like the pictures are up on our wall, and we have we did a photo book, and you had done a slideshow. And I think it's really important for families to see, especially moms. And I mean, it's not always moms, but most of the time it's moms. I think it's really important for them to see themselves in that story. And that's what my hospital photography is about as well. But you came over that day. So just to kind of set the scene, Maverick was sick. My youngest son was like kind of snotty, disgusting, like wouldn't have been allowed at school in this time, but like then it was okay. So we talked about canceling, and I was like, nope, you know what? This is the day. We've got this set. Let's do it. And so Kelly came over. She met us at my house. And do you remember walking into my house that day?
Yes. It was just you and me, because part of the session was that we were going to pick up your kids.
Yeah. And my kids were at daycare and like after school care. Yeah. My husband was still at work. We walk into the house, and there is this enormous elk head sitting on the coffee table, and it like scared us because I wasn't expecting it to be there. And my husband had picked up, he's a hunter, and he had gotten this head taxidermied, and it is now actually in our house, not just hiding in the bathroom where we kept it for like a year. But we just walked in and like, oh my God. So
and it was like so big, like your entire living room.
When I post this, I will put a couple pictures from your session in there, and I will make sure that head is in there as well, because it was like a focus point. Like I had to tell him to get it out of there at one point, because I was just like, I don't want it in every picture, babe. But yeah, we walked over. We brought Maverick.
Well, and the best part of that is that you had no idea it was going to be there. Like he didn't tell you. He forgot we had photos, I think you told me, or he's told you, or pretty something. Normal. And like it wasn't just on me. It was like you had no idea.
Yeah, no, it was, oh my God. And then so we grabbed Maverick's bike, we walked over to daycare, and then he wouldn't ride his bike either. Do you remember that?
Yes. Oh, yes.
And like he was just mad and sad, but we got awesome pictures.
Yeah.
We walked over, we picked up the other kid, we walked back. Like there's no scripting. It was just like, that was what our life looked like. And it was perfect. And you stayed with us till bedtime. We got pictures reading, and we don't live in that house anymore. And
I know.
I mean, that's the last time we had all of that kind of stuff done. And I love it. So thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah. And your session was true. Like it's interesting, and maybe you were going to ask this question anyway, but most people need to ease into a documentary session in terms of like, they want to have a session with me and they're expecting a lot of direction, and I'll give as much direction as a family needs.
Yeah.
And then they'll do like one session with me and say, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. And this is pretty easy. And she didn't tell us to do very much things except, sometimes I'll say, just read the book here or do this. And then the next year they're like, yeah, I think we're ready for like a half day in the life or something. I don't need a Christmas card photo, or if I do, we'll take 5 minutes to get it or whatever. And that's generally the progression. Now you knew because you're in the industry and you do this type of photography, but yeah, most people need a kind of easing in because it's so foreign to just have this photographer in your house and you like let your kids wear their favorite clothes, whatever they want, and eat whatever you normally eat for dinner and not worry about your house or an alcohol or whatever.
And it's my favorite, but it did take us a while to get there too, because I had other photographers in previous years who were more like lifestyle. We went to a park, did that, and beautiful photos. I love them, but because, and I guess I had to figure out who I was as a photographer too. So for a long time I was very like, let's pose like this. And I realized that I'm not very good at posing people and I don't really enjoy it. So then there's less and less directing as I go. But I agree. Most people that like, you can kind of read a situation too about how much a family wants to be posed or not posed or directed.
Sure.
So yeah, I love those kind of sessions though. One of the things I did want you to talk about as well was your Monday Me project. So I teach a personal photography project at Arts Place in Canmore. And I always talk about you and I share the blog that you were on. And we actually, one of our projects is a self-portrait project just to kind of introduce ourselves. And I use your photos as one of the things that I kind of share with people. Tell me how that got started. Like just introduce everybody to what that was all about.
How did that get started? That's a good question. So first of all, I guess backstory is I am like a project junkie. Like I am the type of person who thrives on rules and guidelines and deadlines. That is, I thrive in that environment. So I create that for myself with everything. I tend to take on more work than I can, should. Then I can always handle it, but more work than I should. I like to, make it extra. So I had finished like a couple of 365s and I'd been doing different projects with my kids, and my kids were growing up and they were just kind of this age. My kids are 6 and 9 now, but like even just a few years ago, they were just kind of, my oldest was tired of it. Like she just didn't want to be, and in all honesty, she'd go to school all day and then she'd come home and watch tablet for an hour and then we'd eat dinner and then she'd go to bed. And I'm like, where's my cute kid who does all these different things now?
Yeah.
So, and she wasn't really into it. And so I had to find something different. And, so that year, which was 2018, January 2018, I decided I had been doing self-portraits and I really enjoyed it. And I find it really, once you get over the like egotistical part of it, that you're taking a photo of yourself and what are you going to do with it? Like that's weird. Then you kind of, if you allow yourself to get into it a bit, it's very therapeutic. I find it very therapeutic. And to set aside the time, and it would often take me like an hour or so to set aside the time, find the place in your house, put makeup on, like do the things that make you feel human.
Yeah.
And then kind of work through those emotions. So if it was like a week that I was feeling frustrated or feeling sad, then I would try and figure out how to bring that in to my photography. And I would often feel so much better an hour later because I would do it when I usually do it when there's nobody else home because that's easiest.
Yeah.
And I turn the music on full blast and just go for it. And I always felt better after. So I tried really, really hard to do one every Monday. And I set the Monday because I like rules. And so if I set it on Monday, then I did it on Monday and I wouldn't go to bed without doing it, right? Otherwise, it's really easy to say, I'll do it tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow becomes next month, And I fell in love with it. I just kept going and kept going. And some photos, so it's a self-portrait every Monday of the entire year. So at the end of the year, I think I did miss a few weeks while we were traveling or whatever, but I think I got around 50.
Yeah.
And I carried on and did it the next year too. And so I did 2 full years of it. And it's amazing to see the progression, to see my like emotions that I can look back on the photos and see the emotions that I was working out at the time.
Yeah.
I'm at the point in my photography where I'm struggling to see growth. And it was an amazing project to look back on and be like, oh, I am growing. I'm just not seeing it every day. And so, yeah, it was really good. And then it it was really fun each week. I'd think about it. Like I'd think about it midweek and I'd be like, oh, this light, look at this light at 3:00 on the Monday right here. And this is where I'm going to come back to or whatever.
Okay.
And it was a really focused project that was fun. And then I took 2020, thank goodness. Maybe I should have done it this year because I'm home so much. I decided to take it off and I was going to actually I had plans to embark on a whole other personal project that was outside of the house that all got kiboshed with the pandemic. And so now this year I've been floundering and I was just thinking actually earlier this month that I think I'm going to resurrect Monday Me again for 2021. Yeah.
Well, maybe I'm seriously thinking about joining you.
Yeah.
There's no telling where we're going to be at. One of the things that I talk about, so I've done some mentoring with Kelly. We've done some in-person stuff. We've done like multiple different times. And it was huge for I really enjoy having a connection with somebody. We would meet in person because it was in Edmonton at the time.
Right.
And she gave me a couple projects, a diptych being one of them, which is one of my favorite projects. I was just actually right before this conversation, I was just teaching some other people about diptychs, and it's another project I talk about in the class that I do. But the self-portrait one, I'm realizing the pictures that when I look back really stand out to me are ones where I'm included in them, that I've taken myself. And so I do think that maybe that's something we do together. Maybe we throw down a Monday Me project in Alberta, and
it's fun. You know what? It's really something. And I think you have to go into it with realistic expectations. It's just like a Project 52 or Project 365. Every week is not going to be portfolio worthy. Some are going to suck. You're going to hate them. It's okay. Some are going to be your hands holding a coffee cup, and that's okay. That's not the point. The point is that you just carry on, and somewhere in there, you're going to have a moment of brilliance, right? Yeah. And I agree, because I also, like, going back to the very beginning of this conversation where you talked about hiring me so that you could be in the photos, I generally trade sessions with other photographers I've hired photographers as well. And when we travel, I try and hire a photographer so I can be in the photos, because the only time I'm in the photos is when I set my camera up and do it. And then I know that I'm manipulating it and everything. Right. Yeah. So, but the Monday Me project was really nice because I brought my kids in and I made a point of doing each kid separate, and I did this all together. And some of our most fun memories from those years are like jumping on the bed and doing self-portraits that I probably never would have set up if I didn't have to take a picture that Monday.
Yep. And I think that was the nice thing about the Clickin Moms groups, because you were kind of held accountable. Like the Project 52 that I first did, it was each week they posted a topic, they did a little education piece, and then people posted and wrote about theirs. And then there was a project, I think it was called Me and My Kid. At the same time that I did my first Project 52, there was like a monthly group going on. Mm-hmm. And that year I did pictures of me and Kane specifically. And just having that accountability, I think, is really important, because I agree. I'm somebody that needs, like, okay, Friday's the day I post the blog. That has to happen. Like, these things have to happen. So choosing something like that is really important to me as well.
Well, and personal projects are such a way, and I found this with the Monday Me project as well. Now that I'm in business and I'm fairly solidified in business with my type of photography, people know what to expect from me. I post very predictable things on Instagram. I don't post any weird things that I'm working on or things like that, because I don't want people to be like, well, I don't want to hire her and get this, right? Yeah. I want people to know what they're going to get when they hire me. And so that's a really conscious, like, I keep that in the back of my head all the time. But when you start to do a project like this, like the Monday Me project or whatever it is, self-portraiture is really a nice one, because it allows you to really flex your muscles and try new things. And I'd put things over my lenses and I'd edit it in a way that I never would. And I'd use like motion blur, things that I don't use in my business. I don't post on Instagram regularly, but all of a sudden it was part of a project. And so it was okay for me to just flip a switch and be really creative and try new things.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think you talked me into it. 2021 is the year of self-portraiture. Okay. We'll see how this goes.
Pick a time that you're going to be alone in your house.
Yeah, that's a good call. Okay. So what's next for you? You've told us a bit about what's coming up for Clickin Moms.
Yeah.
What is going on?
So that's really it. The winter is going to be really focusing on this breakout and getting it out for next year, for the early 2021. I am still working as of right now, fingers crossed. I am still doing in-home sessions.
Yeah.
So that is going to carry on through the winter. I'm always busy with newborns usually in the winter.
Okay.
And then this previous fall, I launched school photography, which actually took off like a shot. I didn't know how it was going to go, but I love it.
Yeah.
And it was really successful. I had a really successful fall with it. So my hope is that we are able to do some in the spring in schools, because there was a few schools that I had booked that ended up not opening, preschools that didn't open for the fall. So I'm hopeful that that will be the spring, and the next fall I'm going to go great guns with that. And
so are you okay telling a little bit about how you set that up?
Totally.
Because I'm
interested. Like how I launched it?
Yeah, like, well, like what happens for the session? Do you go to the school? Is it indoors? Is it outdoors?
Yes. So this year was a bit of a mess because it was everything.
Yeah.
The intent is that I would go to the school and I would replace, well, there's an option. I can replace the regular photography company generally that most schools have, a large photography company.
Yeah.
I could replace them and provide a much more boutique experience. So I do all of my school photos against a black background. So there's no lasers, there's no faux trees, there's no frames being held around your child's head. It's just like torso up. I work really hard on getting natural expressions, real smiles. I never ask a kid to smile. I put on my act and get genuine smiles. And so, yes, the plan is I bring my backdrop. It's very minimal. I set up in the school and we just go through the classes just like we normally, like any school photographer would. So this year, I'm mostly in preschools. Right now, that's what I'm set up for. It's kind of smaller schools.
Yeah.
But who knows down the road as we get going. This year I did a combination. I was mostly outside. So we did preschools outside in their like play areas and so forth, because it was a pandemic and it was safer and I was masked the entire time and all that kind of jazz. And then I also offered I had a bunch of clients and people who follow me on social media who are homeschooling and asked if they could get photos.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing a bunch of sessions out of my garage, like 80 sessions or something. I didn't count. It was, oh, wow. I had like 200 kids. It was crazy. And so I set it up in my garage so we could have the big door open and the backdrop, and then families didn't have to come inside my house at all. They didn't have to be there. And it was really fun. It was a fun time. Okay. But it turned out to be very successful. And I really, really enjoyed it. Like I originally launched school photography as kind of just another income stream. But in the end, actually, now it's like a new love. I really am obsessed with having 1 minute per kid and getting like the most genuine smile that I can get.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're on Instagram. Are you on Facebook too?
No, just Instagram.
Just Instagram. So I will definitely include a link because your stories are amazing for any kind of photographer that would like to find out more. And you talk a lot about what's going on and how to do things. So I think that's awesome. If there's anything else you would like me to share with people, make sure to just send it my way and I'll include that in our notes and on the blog. But thank you so much for doing it.
Thank you. This was so nice to do.